Hello there, friends. Welcome back. Sgt Sarah with Illuminate Ministries. Time once again for another Mission Minute. Please like and subscribe so we can keep coming to you, and go back and check some of our other Mission Minutes. I want to read to you Hebrews 4:3, and we're going to look at it in the Amplified Classic Translation and the New Living Translation. And we're going to start in the Amplified Classic, and I'm sorry, it's Hebrews 4:3 and 4. So in the Amplified Classic, it says, "For we who have believed do enter that rest in accordance with his declaration that those who did not believe should not enter, when he said, 'As I swore in my wrath, they shall not enter my rest.' And this he said, although his works had been completed and prepared, and waiting for all who would believe from the foundation of the world. For in a certain place he said this about the seventh day, and God rested on the seventh day from all his work." Now let's look at it in the NLT, the New Living Translation. "For only we who believe can enter his rest. As for the others, God said, 'In my anger I took an oath. They will never enter my place of rest,' even though this rest has been ready since he made the world. And we know it is ready because of the place in the scriptures where it mentions the seventh day. On the seventh day, God rested from all his work." So I want to talk to you about resting, and that there is, for the believer, there is a place of rest, even when we're in faith, even when we're in the battle of faith, because it talks about the good fight of faith. There is a rest in our fighting even, and that goes against the world. They fight to a point of exhaustion, right? They fight to a point of harm and injury. But we who are of God, that's what I love about that. I love about this verse. It says, "For only we who believe can enter his rest." And then it says, "In my anger, I took an oath. They will never enter my place of rest." And then he tells us that in the seventh day of creation, God created that rest for all of us who would believe. That's incredible, friend. I needed to be reminded of that so often myself when I am in the midst of a fight and of faith, and I'm wrestling and kind of struggling to do these things. You know, it tells us in Ephesians 6:13, "Having done all to stand." Well, that is what the Lord has been showing me recently in my time with him, is you're not resting enough in me. You're in faith, but there is a rest that can come with that faith. And I'm telling you, when you roll that over on him, when you roll that struggle and that even that mental battle, when you roll that over on him, there is a rest, and it is just a divine rest. Is something that we cannot completely, I think, wrap our heads around, but it is definitely divine. And it got me thinking about, I played music, piano growing up all through school, and it got me thinking about music. So if you know anything, along with the notes and the different symbols, when you read music, there is a rest sometimes in music. And so I wanted to make sure I said this right. Rest can be different lengths based on the corresponding notes. So if it comes, what it comes in front of or after it. And the length of it can be a whole rest, a half rest, or a quarter rest. So sometimes we have rests that are longer than other rests. I know the Lord has done that with me in my life. There's been times where he's told me for a week to rest, and then to rest from something else. There's been a time where the length was like 3 months or longer, and that was really hard for me to do that. But that's what he kept telling me. No, I told you to rest. Bring that to me and rest. So there's different lengths that we can rest. But in music, rest are essential for creating the rhythm. And that is what the good fight of faith, our faith walk with our life that we are running and doing with the Lord. There is a rhythm, and rest is involved with our faith and our stance and our battle in that. The rhythm of our faith requires times of rest, and there's different links with those times of rest. The Bible also mentions that there's times of refreshing. Well, you know, that's what it is. God created that for us. It says on the seventh day, God rested. But you know, sometimes it's hard. We think, because the world is like, oh, you got to be a go-getter. You got to fight, 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 fight. But God has already won that battle for us. That's why we can have that rest. When we've done our part, then we've done everything that we know to do, and then we stand. Having done all, stand. That standing can also be rest. Having done all, rest. Because our Father is a good Father, and He is at work, and there's power with His words, and they're working when we've spoken them. They can do that work for us. That is just so beautiful. Rest. I wanted to tell you that. You know, these holiday seasons are coming up and there's a lot going on. I'm so glad for faith and that I am learning how to rest even in my faith. Well, thank you for joining me, Sgt Sarah, with 2 Illuminate Ministries for Mission Minutes, and we'll see you next time.